Mafia Legacy, Born to Rule, is the latest installment in the Mafia franchise, and it is actually pretty good. The story follows the 5 families of the Italian Mafia, each with their own distinct characteristics and attributes, much like the different species in Mafia 3. However, this time we get to play as the head of one of these families, and we have to grow that family into a powerful crime syndicate in the United States. The game has been out for about 2 weeks now, and I've got over 50 hours into it already. So let us talk about what makes Mafia Legacy stand out from other Mafia games, as well as some things that need improvement. The biggest draw of Mafia Legacy is definitely its setting. You won't find any memorable characters or an interesting story here, but instead you will find an accurate depiction of how the Mafia operated during the early 20th century. The entire game is based around realism. Even combat feels like it has more weight behind it when compared to previous Mafia games because bullets are limited in enemies. Actually, it's trying to take cover. The only aspect of the game that doesn't feel realistic is probably the enemy AI, but I'll get into that later. The world of Mafia Legacy is split up into 3 acts. In the first act, you'll be introduced to one of the 5 families, and you will have to make your way through several assassination attempts as the new boss of the family. As the first act progresses, you will slowly start taking control of territory from rival gangs, and you will also gain access to more criminal enterprises, which serves as the backbone of the game's economy. Criminal enterprises can range from breweries and nightclubs to casinos and even sawmills. Each enterprise offers different profits and risks, so it's important to choose wisely depending on what your financial situation is. For example, if you're low on cash, you should focus on getting lucrative businesses up and running. Whereas, if you're rich enough to where money isn't really an issue, then you could focus on risk ventures that offer a lot more money, but also come with a greater chance of failure. This addition of risk versus reward with the criminal enterprises is a nice touch, and I'm happy that they added this layer of strategy to the game. But unfortunately, there aren't too many options to begin with, and everything gets pretty expensive very fast. I found myself making around $500 per day by the end of the first act, which isn't terrible. But once you start expanding into new areas, you will now need to raise that income significantly in order to keep up with how quickly the game starts throwing money at you. As you continue to expand your criminal empire, you'll have to deal with rival gangs, law enforcement, and even other mafia families. Battles with rival gangs and cops can become quite intense as dozens of enemies try to take you down. Luckily, if you play your cards right, you can turn the odds in your favor. The combat in Mafia Legacy is unlike anything we've seen in the Mafia series before. Instead of engaging in firefights, you'll be able to use the environment to your advantage by hiding behind cars, pillars, and other objects. If you play your cards right, you can eliminate entire groups of enemies without being detected. The shooting does feel a bit floaty at times, but other than that, the combat is pretty fun. What's even better is the addition of grenades. I think grenades were a great addition to the game, since it adds another layer of strategy to battles. Knowing where to throw a grenade can easily turn the tides of battle. The third aspect of the game is the character creation system, which is one of the most unique aspects of the game. Before starting a playthrough, you'll be asked to choose between the 5 different Mafia families, and after you make your choice, you'll create a character that's either extremely handsome or extremely beautiful. Unfortunately, you can't customize anything else about your character, not even their clothing. You do have some limited options for clothing later on, but trust me when I say that, you won't want any of them. Once you've made your character, you'll notice that they have a bunch of stats that get upgraded as you play the game. These stats include intimidation, charisma, intelligence, and fighting skills. These stats affect how you interact with both enemies and civilians. For example, if you have high intimidation, enemy gang members won't try to attack you. They'll just run away. Likewise, if you have high charisma, civilians will give you discounts at their stores. It's worth noting that you don't actually see your character in the game. They're more or less just a stand-in for you. the play. When talking to characters, you'll see but when you're outside, you'll just see a third-person view of their back. Personally, I wish they would have went all in with the unique character creation system and incorporated it further into the story. I mean, imagine having a full-on RPG where you can make a custom character and then complete missions based on the choices that you make. Unfortunately, this isn't that type of game. Now, let's talk about some things that could have been improved. First of all, Mafia Legacy suffers from the same issues that plagued Mafia 3, specifically the lack of polish. Now, this doesn't take away from the fact that the game is fun to play, but there are a few aspects of the game that clearly needed more work before launch. One of these aspects is the game's AI. Enemies can be very dumb at times, often getting stuck behind objects or just standing around while your entire gang wipes them out. Another thing that needs improvement is the game's tutorial system. While the game does a good job of teaching you basic mechanics such as how to hide and shoot, it fails to teach you how to properly manage your criminal enterprises. On top of that, the game doesn't tell you how to upgrade your character stats, which leaves new players confused as to how certain things work. Finally, something that needs improvement is the amount of content. Like I said earlier, there aren't many criminal enterprises, and most of the gameplay consists of the same 3 activities, which are managing your criminal empire, fighting rival gangs and cops, and completing assassination missions. A couple of the assassination missions are really memorable as well, which helps to alleviate the lack of a strong story. But overall, Mafia Legacy is still a really fun game, especially if you're a fan of Mafia 3. I had a blast playing it, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for a Mafia fix. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think of Mafia Legacy in the comments below. Now, before I end this video, I want to talk about it, and I'd like to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. I've been your host, and I'll see you in the next video.